Hey, this is Drew Harden. I was recently talking with a manager who mentioned to me that he had a guy that reported to him that was causing him some issues. And this guy was in a one-on-one with him recently, and he was complaining and really concerned about an instance that happened in Microsoft Teams. He had been messaging some of his team members in a group chat on Microsoft Teams. He put in a message that he thought was really important, and he was complaining because he didn't get enough emoji responses, like enough people didn't like it or put the right emoji responses that he thought were appropriate for this message. He didn't get the response he was hoping for, and he wondered if they were upset with him. He was really concerned about it. One of the biggest problems I think that we have in workplaces today is that people don't assume the best. In the modern workplace today, there are so many unknowns that we come across. And the problem is, the human mind is really good at thinking negative. You see, you never go to a bookstore and find a section about negative thinking. There's always a section, however, about positive thinking. And the reason is, as humans, we are just really good at thinking negative. That's just how we are set up, how we're built. Thinking negative comes really easily, and it's difficult to think positively and assume the best. So often when we come across a scenario where there's an unknown and another person is associated with that, it's really easy to assume the worst. But so many problems in business today occur because of this. I think probably 90% of the issues that people have at the workplace would be absolved if we just all assume the best. In other words, assume positive intentions with the other person when there are unknowns. It's really easy to assume the best when it comes to ourselves, and it can be a lot more difficult to assume the best when it comes to others. If you're late for a meeting, it's really easy to say, well, that was because of my environment. That was because I couldn't get a green light, or this happened, or that happened. But when someone else is late to your meeting, sometimes it's easy to think, well, they don't care about the meeting. This person isn't a good person because of this reason. This person must have been messing around. So the golden rule is such a great idea here. Assume the best of others because you want them to assume the best of you. Now, sometimes someone might say, I don't want to assume the best about this guy. He doesn't deserve it. I know what type of person he is. But assuming the best isn't just a gift to the other person, it's a gift to yourself. You're freeing yourself from the torture of the unknown. And I think one of the ways you can assume the best a little easier too is to know the story of the people you work with. This is one of the reasons it's really good to talk with people, to socialize, to get to know people, to care about those you work with. If you get to know someone and you understand maybe sometimes they deal with a certain situation, or maybe they have a sickness that they have to deal with, or maybe there's an issue sometimes they have in their family. And sometimes that can explain the unknowns that you're dealing with, and it helps you to assume the best. So always take the time to share your story with others, but also understand those you work with. So a few scenarios here. Imagine you get an email and the tone is off in the email. It's really easy to assume the worst, to think that person's upset with you, there's an issue. But tone over email is really difficult to read. Assume the best. Don't let that worry you. Now, you can look into it and address it, but don't let it worry you. Assume the best. It'll save you a lot of troubles. Maybe you are not invited to a meeting and you feel like, hey, this is a topic or a subject or a project that I should be involved with. Why was I excluded from this meeting? Your mind can race. It's easy to assume the worst. You could think, this person doesn't like me. They're trying to push me out of this. Am I going to get fired? Our minds can race with the negative implications of that situation. Assume the best. If you assume the best, you might think, maybe it was just an oversight. Maybe there was an issue. I know I have scheduled meetings before and forgotten to include people, and I want people to assume the best of me. Maybe one of your coworkers yells at you in the office. That's not good. They shouldn't have done that. But you don't know what's going on in their life. Assume the best. Maybe there's a big issue that that person had at home beforehand, and they're just taking it out on you. Address it with them. Handle the situation, but assume the best until you find out what the situation's all about. So should you always assume the best in every situation? Yeah, I think so, but assume the best until proven otherwise. You don't want someone to take advantage of you, and you don't want to be totally ignorant of what could be going on. Again, assuming positive intentions will make the workplace so much better. So if you're a leader, talk about this with your team members. Encourage them to assume the best. Don't just talk about it once, do it yourself and continue to emphasize with them. If you and your team members do this, I guarantee it's going to improve your office so much. I regularly share leadership tips like this. If this was helpful for you, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps out. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you next time.